Welcome to Science for Sleepy Minds. I'm very glad you're here, in whatever shape this night has taken. Maybe you're comfortably tired. Maybe you're tired in a sharper way, the kind that comes with a busy mind that doesn't want to dim. Either way, you've found a quiet place to rest for a while. You don't need to do anything special. You don't need to be in a perfect mood. You can simply be here, breathing, letting the dark hold you gently. Tonight, we're going to wander through something close to you and yet still full of soft mystery. The most mysterious organs you have, not mysterious in a scary way, and not mysterious in a dramatic cliff-edge way. More like the way a quiet room can feel mysterious when the lights are low, and you notice details you never paid attention to before. The way a simple everyday thing becomes astonishing if you look at it slowly. We'll take our time, we'll keep it gentle, and if you fall asleep at any moment, that is more than okay. In fact, that's the whole idea. You can let the words become background. You can let the science drift by like clouds you don't have to name. You're safe to rest. Learning can be a soft extra, like a warm cup placed at the bedside, not a job you have to finish. We'll move through a handful of organs that feel mysterious because they're complex, subtle, and quietly brilliant. The brain, with its hidden halls and its strange ability to become a you. The heart, with its steady rhythm and its own little electricity. The gut, with its second brain network and its night garden of tiny companions. Later on, we'll visit the calm libraries and filters of immunity, and the whispering message system of hormones, and the skin that keeps you held together while it gently feels the world. But not all at once, slowly, like walking through a museum where you're the only visitor, and no one is rushing you. Just a small note before we settle deeper. If you enjoy this kind of quiet science, you can like the video or subscribe to the channel, and then you can let that thought float away, because now we return to stillness. Now, let's make your body as comfortable as it wants to be. If it feels good, take a slow breath in through your nose, not a big breath, just an easy one, and then let it out a little more slowly than you breathed in, as if you're letting the day loosen its grip. Again, breathing in gently, and breathing out long and soft, like a tide sliding back from the shore. You don't have to count or you don't have to force anything. Just notice that the exhale can be a little longer, a little kinder. The body often understands that as a signal, a quiet message that says, it's all right to unwind now, let your forehead smooth, as if someone has taken a warm cloth and pressed it there for a moment. Let your eyebrows loosen. Let the tiny muscles around your eyes soften, as if your eyelids are becoming pleasantly heavy, like velvet curtains, and your jaw. Many people hold the day in their jaw without noticing, so if you can, let your teeth separate slightly. Let your tongue rest in the bottom of your mouth like it's settling into a small hammock. Let your shoulders drop just a little, not dramatically, just a fraction, as if you're setting down a bag you didn't realize you were carrying. And if you want, adjust something small. Shift your pillow, pull the blanket up or down, change where your hands are resting. Think of it like a gentle science experiment in coziness. You make one tiny adjustment and then you observe the result. Does it feel easier to breathe? Does your neck feel less busy? Does your chest feel more spacious? Let the warm weight of the blanket be something you can trust. A simple pressure, a friendly presence. Your body knows what to do with comfort. It can melt into it the way wax softens near a flame. Now, let your breath return to whatever rhythm it naturally chooses, in and out, like quiet waves, and as you settle, you can imagine a warm light behind your ribs, not bright, just a dim golden warmth, like a lamp in the distance. Each breath gently stirs it. Each exhale spreads it a little wider. as if it's washing down through your chest, your stomach, your hips, your legs, all the way to your ankles, loosening the last threads of tension like sea foam dissolving on sand. And when you're ready, very gently, we'll begin our tour. Imagine a museum at night, not cold or echoing. This one is warm and silent, with soft carpeting underfoot. The lights are low, more like candles behind glass than bright bulbs. There's a faint hum of quiet air moving through vents, steady and calm like the building is breathing in its sleep. Outside, the world is dark and time feels slower. Inside, there are rooms. Each room holds something precious. Each room holds a part of you. There are no crowds, no loud voices, no announcements. You are the only visitor, and the museum is open only for you, only tonight. It's the museum of you after hours, when everything feels most peaceful. In the first hallway, you move slowly. Nothing is urgent. You can pause when you want. You can keep walking, or you can rest. The museum doesn't mind, and as you wander, you begin to sense a comforting truth. Most of your organs are working right now quietly without asking you to supervise. Like a kind staff on the night shift, checking the lights, polishing the glass, keeping the floors smooth, making sure everything stays balanced while you rest. That's something mysterious, isn't it? Often, when we hear the word mysterious, we think of danger or fear. But tonight, mysterious simply means layered, deep, full of hidden jobs and gentle complexity, mysterious like the way music is made of vibrations, and yet it becomes comfort. Mysterious like the way a seed turns into a tree. So we'll walk through these rooms one by one, and we'll keep it soft. We'll begin with what's familiar, and then we'll move slowly toward what's deeper. And you can drift in and out. You can visit a room and then fall asleep in the doorway. That's allowed. We'll start with the brain, because it's the room most people imagine first when they hear the word mystery. The brain is here, in this quiet museum, not as something frightening or clinical, but as something beautifully alive. You might picture it as a softly lit sculpture, protected behind glass. Or maybe you picture it as a dim forest, made of gentle pathways. Either way is fine. The brain has space for many metaphors. You already know what the brain feels like from the inside. Thoughts, memories, dreams. A sudden idea arriving as if it floated in from somewhere else. The brain is the place where you notice the world, and where the world becomes your experience, and yet when you look at it from the outside, it's made of soft tissue, folds and curves. A physical thing you could hold in your hands if you were a careful, impossible giant. How does something so physical become something so personal? The simplest way to begin is with neurons. Neurons are cells, and their job is communication. They are like tiny messengers, like little lantern bearers. They pass signals along not in one single line, but in networks, branching and weaving. If you want an image, you can imagine a city at night seen from above. Not the sharp glare of daytime activity, but a quiet constellation of lights. Streets, intersections, neighborhoods, some places glowing more brightly, some dim and restful. The brain has that kind of feeling. A living map of activity. Neurons communicate using electricity and chemistry. That sounds big, but it can be thought of in gentle terms. A small electrical change moves along a neuron like a ripple along a rope. When it reaches the end, it releases tiny chemical messengers into the small gap between cells. Those chemicals drift across, like a note passed quietly from one hand to another, and they influence the next neuron. Not shouting, whispering, and it's not just one neuron speaking to one other neuron. It's millions and millions and more, all murmuring at once like a forest full of insects at dusk. No individual sound is loud, but together the pattern becomes something, a feeling, a memory, the sense of your own name. Sometimes people imagine the brain as a single leader, like a captain on a ship. But a more accurate image is a chorus, many voices at once, sometimes harmonizing, sometimes taking turns. The brain produces experience through collaboration, through patterns that rise and fade. You can even notice this in your own life. Have you ever tried to force yourself to stop thinking and found that the thought only got louder? And then later, when you weren't trying, the mind got quiet on its own. It's as if the brain doesn't respond well to being commanded. It responds to gentle cues, to the dimming of lights, to the soft repetition of safety, to the rhythm of breath. And that's one of the reasons this kind of bedtime science can be helpful. Not because it's magical, because it gives the brain a cue, a pattern, something gentle to follow. Now, as you lie there, perhaps listening with eyes closed, your brain is doing many things at once. It is hearing these words and turning them into meaning. It is coordinating your breathing. It is measuring your temperature. It is checking in with your muscles, noticing what's tense and what's loose. It is maintaining the boundary between you and the room. And it's doing most of that without needing you to think about it. That's another kind of mystery. The brain contains processes that feel like you, and processes that feel like they're happening underneath you, like there is a surface of awareness, and beneath it a deep ocean of automatic care. One gentle way to understand this is to imagine layers. On the surface you have the thoughts you can notice, the sentence you're hearing, the memory that pops up, the plan that tries to sneak in. And underneath there are deeper layers that keep a steady rhythm. If the mind is like a house, then these are the systems that keep the heat stable and the water running. You don't stand at the furnace all night. You let it do its job. There's a particular pattern the brain tends to slip into when you're not focused on a specific task, when you're resting, when you're daydreaming, when your eyes are closed and your mind gently wanders through memories and images. Scientists often call this the default mode network. You can think of it as a background setting, a soft screensaver, a gentle hum. When you're not aiming your attention like a flashlight at something specific, the brain shifts into this internal reflective mode. And that can be soothing, because it means your brain is designed for wandering. It's built to drift. Not every moment needs effort. Sometimes drifting is the brain doing what it naturally does. Now, drifting can also bring up worries. The default mode is not always peaceful, especially if you've had a stressful day. The brain may wander into old conversations or future possibilities, or questions that don't have easy answers. It's trying to solve, it's trying to protect. So we don't scold it, we don't fight it, we simply offer it something else to rest on. Like giving a tired hand a railing to hold, a gentle story, a calm tour through a quiet museum. And as the night goes on, if you fall asleep, your brain will keep working in a different way. Sleep is one of the brain's most mysterious tender acts. When you sleep, you are not shutting off. You are changing modes. Like a city that looks quiet at midnight, but still has lights in certain windows, still has night workers, still has soft movement, sleep tends to come in cycles. You drift into lighter sleep, then deeper sleep, and later into phases where dreams become vivid. You don't have to remember the names of these phases. You don't have to track them. The important part is that sleep has rhythm, like waves that rise and fall. In deep sleep, the brain's activity becomes slower and more synchronized. Many neurons begin to move together, like a crowd swaying gently, or like slow breathing through a wide field of grass. In dream-rich sleep, the brain becomes more active in certain regions, and the mind paints images and stories that can feel strange, beautiful, or simply fleeting. Why do we dream? That's still an open question in science, and it's one of the soft mysteries we can hold without needing to solve tonight. Some ideas suggest that dreaming may help the brain process emotions or organize memories or test possibilities in a safe inner space. Dreams can be like a rehearsal in a quiet theatre, or they can be like a river carrying little fragments of the day, polishing them smooth. And even that uncertainty can be comforting. It means your brain is deep enough that not everything is fully mapped. There is still discovery, there is still wonder, and the most mysterious question is the one that feels almost too gentle to ask. How does a physical organ made of cells and molecules become a feeling? How does it become the sense of being you? How does a soft electrical forest become a thought? There are many scientific angles on this, and tonight we'll keep them simple and sleepy. One helpful idea is that consciousness is not located in one single point. It's not a single light bulb, it's more like a pattern, like a melody. It emerges when many parts coordinate. If you've ever listened to a choir, you know that no single singer is the song. The song is the way they blend, the way they time their breathing together, the way they hold a note and let it dissolve. The brain may be like that, not a single place, but a collaboration. Sensations come in from the body and the world. The brain compares them to memory. It predicts what comes next. It adjusts. It chooses. It integrates. And from that integration something arises. A quiet awareness. If you're still awake, you might gently notice your own awareness now. Not in a sharp way. Just a soft noticing. The feeling of blanket against skin. The sound of my voice, the dark behind your eyelids. The fact that you are here. And then you can let that noticing go, because sleep is allowed. You don't have to hold awareness like a task. In the museum, as you leave the brain's room, you might imagine lantern-lit pathways behind you, continuing on and on. Warm rivers of information flowing silently, slow snowfall of signals shimmering and settling. And now the hallway guides you toward the heart. The heart is such a familiar mystery. You've lived beside its rhythm your whole life. Even before you were born it had started. A small steady pulse, long before you had words for anything. It's easy to forget it's there, which is a kind of kindness. Imagine if you had to consciously remember to beat your heart. Imagine if you had to issue a command for every pulse, every moment. Instead, the heart simply keeps time. In the museum, the heart's room feels warm. Maybe there's a soft, steady sound like a distant drum in a quiet house. Not loud, not urgent, just constant. The simplest way to speak about the heart is that it's a muscle that pumps blood. That's true, but there's a deeper layer that makes it feel mysterious. The heart has its own electrical system. Within the heart there are specialized cells, often described as pacemaker cells. They produce rhythmic electrical signals that coordinate the timing of contractions. In a gentle way, you can imagine them as a small group of musicians counting time, keeping the rest of the orchestra together. The signal spreads through pathways, guiding different parts of the heart to squeeze in the right sequence. First the upper chambers, then the lower, like a wave moving through a stadium, but quiet and inside you. That means the heart doesn't wait for the brain to tell it, beat now, beat now, beat now. The brain influences the heart, yes, but the heart can keep its own rhythm like a lighthouse whose beam continues to rotate through fog, steady and certain. Why would the body be built that way? It's part of resilience, part of a design that doesn't depend on a single point of failure. Your body likes backups, your body likes reliability. And the heart is one of the great reliable things. Now, the heart's rhythm is not perfectly metronomic, and that's a lovely detail. A healthy heart is not a rigid drum machine. It has subtle variability. Your heart speeds up a little when you inhale and slows down a little when you exhale. It responds to movement, to emotion, to temperature, to posture. This subtle variation is often discussed through a measure called heart rate variability. You don't need the numbers. What matters is the idea. Flexibility is a sign of health. The ability to adjust and return, the ability to shift gears gently. And there's something comforting about that, especially at night. It means your body isn't trying to hold itself in one tight, unchanging state. It is constantly tuning, constantly balancing, like a boat making tiny adjustments to stay steady on calm water. The heart and brain speak to each other through many pathways, and one of the most soothing to think about is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a long, wandering nerve drifting down from the brain into the body, touching the heart and many other organs. It carries information in both directions. It's like a quiet telephone line, but one that doesn't ring sharply. It simply carries gentle updates. One reason breathing slowly can feel calming is that it influences this system. A slow exhale tends to nudge the heart towards slowing. It sends a hint of safety, like dimming a lamp. So as you lie there, you might imagine that each exhale is like turning a small dial, not forcing, just guiding. A whisper to your heart that says, it's okay to settle, and the heart answers with its steady rhythm, its faithful pulse. There's a philosophical comfort here too. In life, we often feel as if calm is something we must create by effort, but your body is always composing calm beneath the surface. Even when you forget, even when your thoughts run fast, the heart continues to do its quiet work, maintaining an internal steadiness that you can lean on. What if your body is always composing calm even when you forget? You don't need to solve that question. You can simply let it be like a warm thought placed gently on your chest. In the museum, you might picture the heart as a lighthouse in a dark sea, its beam revolving steadily, guiding invisible ships, or as a metronome in a warm wooden room, ticking softly in the background while the rest of you falls asleep. And now, with that steady rhythm in mind, we continue down the hallway, toward a room that feels surprisingly mysterious for something so everyday. The gut. People sometimes laugh when the gut comes up in science, because it's so ordinary, because digestion is so daily. But the gut is a place of deep intelligence. Quiet, patient, layered intelligence. You already know the gut through sensations, hunger, fullness, that soft heaviness after a warm meal, the flutter of butterflies when you're nervous, sometimes a subtle sense that something is right or wrong in a way you can't fully explain. We even use the gut as a metaphor for intuition. Trust your gut, a gut feeling. Science has found reasons people speak that way. Inside your digestive system, there is a network of nerves called the enteric nervous system. It's sometimes nicknamed the second brain, not because it thinks in words the way you do, but because it has complex local control. It manages digestion with a surprising degree of independence. It coordinates the rhythmic movement that pushes food along. It monitors the chemistry of the environment. It responds to signals, it adjusts. It doesn't need constant instruction. If the brain is a conductor, the gut is like a skilled local orchestra that knows its own parts so well it hardly needs cues. Now, digestion itself is a kind of slow chemistry, not harsh, not frantic, but patient. Food is broken down into smaller molecules that your body can use. Enzymes help with this. Acids help with this. The intestines absorb nutrients through their walls like a coastline taking in gentle waves. There's a lot of surface area inside you. The intestines are folded and textured, not smooth. They have tiny finger-like projections that increase the area available for absorption. It's like a soft coral reef designed for exchange. a place where the outside world, in the form of food, becomes part of you. And then there is the microbiome. This is one of those mysteries that feels almost like a secret garden. Within the gut lie vast communities of microorganisms, bacteria and other tiny life forms, most of them harmless, many of them helpful, some of them still not fully understood. It's not necessary to picture them clearly. You can simply hold the idea that you are not alone within your own body. You are a habitat, a small universe. These microbes help break down certain parts of food, and they participate in creating compounds that influence the body. They also interact with the immune system, helping train it, shaping how it recognizes what belongs and what does not. That's a quiet kind of partnership, not dramatic, not something you feel moment to moment, but always there, like a garden that grows while you sleep. And yes, the gut and the brain communicate. Signals travel through nerves like the vagus nerve. Chemical messengers travel through the bloodstream. The gut produces and influences many substances related to neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers the brain uses. It's not a simple cause and effect, and it's not a guarantee that one meal will change one mood in a simple way. But it is true that body and mind are linked, not as enemies, as companions. If you have ever felt your stomach tighten during stress, or felt calm spread through you after warm, nourishing food, you felt a hint of that connection. Tonight we hold it gently. We let it be another sign that you are an integrated whole, not a scattered collection of separate parts. In the museum, this gut room might feel like a greenhouse at night, warm, dim, full of quiet life, friendly lantern bugs drifting in slow arcs, soft soil turning what's been given into nourishment, slowly and wisely. And you might ask yourself very softly, not needing an answer, how many small helpers are at work while you rest? How many tiny processes are turning the day into energy? And how many quiet systems are caring for you without needing applause? You can let that thought drift like a leaf on water. And now we'll slow our steps again. The next rooms we'll visit later in our longer tour tonight. Rooms of filtering and memory, of calm protection, rooms of whispered hormones and warm boundaries of skin. But for now, we'll stay close to what we've already touched. The brain with its lantern-lit networks, the heart with its steady internal electricity, and the gut with its second brain and its night garden. And as you lie there, you can imagine the museum hallway again. Soft carpet, dim light, quiet air. Each room behind you continues its work even when you walk away. The brain continues its gentle patterns. The heart continues its steady rhythm. The gut continues its patient chemistry. Nothing needs you to manage it right now. If you're still awake, take another slow breath in and let it out like a wave returning to the sea. And if you're drifting, that's perfect. Let the words blur at the edges. Let the images soften. You might picture those lanterns in the brain's forest dimming into a warm haze, like fireflies settling into grass. You might picture the lighthouse heart continuing its slow revolving beam, steady and kind. You might picture the gut's garden growing quietly in the dark, turning what it can into nourishment, composting the day into tomorrow's strength. Your body is doing so much quietly, patiently, as if care is its natural language. And you don't have to remember any of this. You don't have to hold on to it. You can simply rest in the fact that you are supported from the inside. The museum stays open as long as you need it. And as we continue one room at a time, you can keep letting yourself sink into the softness of the night, feeling safe, feeling held, letting sleep come closer, like a gentle tide that always knows the way back to shore. If you're still awake, just let yourself be exactly as you are. There's no need to sit up in your mind, no need to take notes, You can listen loosely, the way you might listen to rain. And if you are asleep for a moment and you're waking again, that's fine too. You haven't missed anything important. In a sleepy kind of learning, the words are not stepping stones you have to land on. They're more like a slow path of soft moss. Wherever your attention touches down is enough. A moment ago we wandered through a few quiet rooms in the Museum of You. We stood near the brain's lantern-lit networks, where whispers of electricity become thoughts and dreams. We listened to the heart's steady rhythm, faithful and internal, the kind of reliability you can lean on without even asking. And we paused in the gut's night garden, where patient chemistry turns what you've been given into nourishment. And all of that continues even now, even if you're barely listening. Your body carries on with a calm competence that doesn't need your supervision. So take a gentle breath if it feels good, in and out, like the tide moving in its own time. As we keep walking, we can linger a little longer in the gut's room, just to let its mystery settle into a softer shape. Your digestive system is long, folded, and quietly busy. It's not a single organ so much as a winding landscape, and within that landscape, the enteric nervous system is like a network of little local roads, little messages passed along to keep things moving. One of the gentlest marvels of digestion is that it is rhythmic. The gut doesn't simply wait for gravity. It uses waves of muscle contractions, a process called peristalsis, to move food along. It's like watching a slow wave travel down a long ribbon. Not hurried, not forced, just steady motion, like a hand smoothing a blanket. If you imagine the inside of your digestive tract, you don't have to picture it in detail. You can keep it abstract and safe. Just think of a warm tunnel, softly lit, where gentle waves move along the walls, ensuring that everything travels at the right pace. And throughout that tunnel there are sensors. The gut notices stretch, it notices chemistry, it notices the presence of nutrients. It talks to itself, and it talks to the rest of you, sending quiet updates. It's strange, isn't it, that you can feel emotions in the gut, not just as a metaphor, but as a physical sensation, a tightening, a fluttering, a sinking, a warmth. Part of that is because the gut has so many nerves, and part of it is because the gut is deeply connected to the systems that prepare you for action or rest. It's a place where the body expresses its state in a way you can feel. So when your stomach turns during stress, it may be your body shifting priorities. When your belly softens after a calm meal, it may be your body moving into restoration. And it's worth saying gently, without pressure, that none of this is your fault to manage perfectly. Bodies have patterns, bodies have histories, they respond to the day with their own language. Tonight, the goal is simply to let the body find its way back toward quiet. The microbiome adds another layer of soft wonder. Those tiny organisms in the gut are not thinking or feeling the way you do, but they are living, and they are active, and they are part of a complex ecosystem. Sometimes it helps to imagine them as a garden community at night, not as a swarm, not as something overwhelming, but as a calm population of helpful workers, tiny caretakers breaking down bits of what you can't digest alone, tiny neighbours making certain compounds, tiny presences interacting with the immune system's training, helping it learn what normal looks like within your body. The words trillions and microbes can sound intense, so you can soften them. You can simply tell yourself there is quiet life in you that participates in your health. A small universe of cooperation, and as you rest here, your gut is doing what it was built to do. It is patient, it is steady, it is not in a hurry. If your mind wants to grip onto a worry, you can offer it this thought instead. Right now, systems are working for you. Right now, processes are turning toward balance even if you do nothing. And then, in the museum, the hallway carries you forward. The lights remain dim, the carpet remains soft. Your footsteps are slow, almost silent. There's a feeling as you walk that the museum is less about looking and more about appreciating, not judging the exhibits, not measuring them, simply noticing their quiet skill. Ahead, there's a room that many people rarely think about unless something goes wrong, but most of the time, it is simply there, calm and vigilant, like a gentle caretaker who never announces themselves. The immune system. Even the phrase can carry a sense of tension, because people often describe immunity with harsh metaphors: battles, wars, enemies. Tonight, we won't do that. Tonight, the immune system is a garden keeper, a librarian, a quiet set of filters and careful recognizers, a system that aims for balance and precision most of the time. To start with something familiar, think of a small cut on your finger. Maybe you've had one recently, maybe not. The skin breaks, a little blood appears, and then, over time, the body closes the gap. It knits, it rebuilds, it makes the surface smooth again. Most of the time, you don't watch this happen the way you watch a movie. You just notice one day that the cut has faded. That's the immune system at work, along with the rest of the body's repair tools. Or think of how, after a mild illness, you eventually feel normal again. Energy returns, the body clears away what it doesn't want to keep. The immune system participates in that clearing, using signals that coordinate many different kinds of cells. The immune system is not a single organ either. It's more like a network spread throughout the body, a set of organs, tissues and cells that communicate, remember and respond. In the museum, the immune room might feel like a quiet library with many small stations. Desks with lamp light, not bright enough to wake you, just bright enough to read. Shelves of memory, gentle sorting and checking. One of the first layers of immunity is what scientists call innate immunity. You can think of it as the body's general readiness. The parts that respond quickly and broadly. The skin itself is part of this. The skin is a barrier, yes, but also a living surface with its own immune activity. It's like the museum's outer walls, and also like a subtle security system that doesn't beep or flash, that simply notices, quietly. There are also cells that patrol tissues, sensing patterns, responding to signs of trouble or damage. These responses can include inflammation, which sounds alarming, but at its heart, inflammation is often a form of attention, a local increase in activity, more blood flow, more signaling, more resources sent to a place that needs care. You can picture it as warmth gathering around a cold spot, not as panic, but as support arriving. There's a second layer too called adaptive immunity. This one is more specific. It learns, it remembers, it makes tailored responses. And because we're keeping this sleepy and simple, you can imagine adaptive immunity as a set of specialized librarians. When something unfamiliar appears, the librarians take notes. They file information. They create a reference that can be used later. So if the same thing appears again, the response can be faster and more precise. That idea of memory is one of the most mysterious and comforting things about immunity. Your body remembers in its own physical way, not as a story, not as a thought, but as changed cells, as stored patterns, as readiness. And to do all of this, the immune system uses several key organs that can feel almost secret because they work quietly and are rarely celebrated. One of these is the lymphatic system. You can imagine the lymphatic system as a second set of soft channels alongside the blood system. While blood circulates in a strong loop, lymph is more like a gentle flow, collecting fluid from tissues and returning it, helping maintain balance. Along those lymphatic channels are lymph nodes, small structures that act like filters and meeting rooms. They are not large, you can't feel them most of the time, but they're there, quietly checking what passes through. If you've ever had swollen lymph nodes during an illness, that's one of the few times you can sense this hidden network. It's like the library suddenly has more staff on duty, more lights on at the desks, more paperwork moving through. In our museum metaphor, lymph nodes are like small checkpoints where information is gathered and organized, not to scare you, just to keep you well. Then there is the spleen. The spleen is a particularly mysterious organ for many people because it sits quietly, doing its work without much attention. It helps filter the blood, removing old or damaged red blood cells, and it participates in immune functions as well. If you want a gentle image, picture the spleen as a quality control station along a calm river. The river is your blood flowing steadily, and the spleen is a place where the flow is quietly checked, where worn-out pieces are removed and useful materials are recycled. Recycling's another theme of the body that feels soothing. So little is wasted, so much is reused. And deeper still, there is bone marrow. Bone marrow is a soft tissue inside bones, and it's one of the places where many blood cells are made, including immune cells. It's like a birthplace, a quiet nursery inside the strong architecture of bone. That image can be comforting. Within what is hard and protective there is softness and creation. Inside bone, a gentle workshop making some of the cells that help keep you steady. And then there's a small organ that feels almost like a teacher in the background, especially early in life. The thymus. The thymus plays a role in training certain immune cells, particularly T cells, helping them learn how to function properly. The thymus is most active earlier in life and changes as you age, but its early teaching matters. In the museum, the thymus might be a small classroom with dim lights, where new recruits are not taught to fight but taught to recognize, to tell the difference between self and not self, to be precise, to be careful, because the best immune work is not dramatic. It is accuracy. It is restraint as much as response. It is recognizing what belongs and allowing it to remain. There is a deep wisdom in that. To make this all less abstract, let's gently explore how the immune system recognizes things. Immune cells have receptors, shapes that fit other shapes, the way a key fits a lock, or the way a hand fits a familiar tool. They don't see the world as you do. They sense patterns. They bind. They respond. One group of immune cells, B cells, can make antibodies. Antibodies are proteins that can bind to specific targets. The simplest image is a little tag or marker, a gentle sticky note placed on something to indicate, pay attention here. Again, this is not about fear. This is about the body's capacity to label and organize. The body is an organizer. T cells have their own roles. Some help coordinate, some help check, some help direct responses. The details can become complex, and you don't need complexity tonight. You can simply keep the feeling that the immune system is a community. Different kinds of cells with different jobs, communicating through chemical signals, coordinating like a quiet team in the background. And those chemical signals, the immune messages, are another layer of mystery. Cells release molecules that tell others what's happening. Come closer, slow down, build tissue, clear debris, calm this response, increase that response. It's like a whole language spoken beneath your awareness, a language of care. If you imagine the body as a city at night, the immune system is part of the maintenance crew. Quiet trucks moving smoothly, workers in reflective vests, but not flashing lights. A promise that the city is being cared for while most residents sleep. And there's something particularly soothing about the idea that the immune system is constantly practicing balance. Too little response and the body may struggle to clear what it needs to clear. Too much response and the body may react too strongly. Much of immune regulation is about finding the right level, the right tone. It is not a system of aggression. It is a system of tuning. It aims to respond and then return to calm, like a wave rising and then settling back into the sea. In the museum, you might picture moonlit watchtowers that don't sound alarms unnecessarily. You might picture librarians stamping calm approval on familiar books and guiding unfamiliar ones to a reading desk for careful review. You might picture filters in a slow river, catching what doesn't belong and letting the rest flow on. Protection can be quiet. Most of the time it is, and perhaps that phrase can settle into you like a gentle quilt. Protection can be quiet. Most of the time it is. As we walk through these immune rooms, we can allow ourselves a few soft, wow moments, the kind that aren't sharp. Isn't it something that your body can remember without thinking? That it can store a kind of history in the shapes of cells and proteins? That it can learn quietly and carry that learning forward? And isn't it comforting, in a way, that so much care is automated? That while you rest, your body doesn't stop. It shifts into quiet maintenance, quiet organization. If your mind is still busy, you can give it a simpler image now. Picture a library late at night. The lamps are low, the floors are polished. A few gentle librarians move through the stacks. They don't hurry, they don't slam drawers, they simply file, check, and keep the place in order. That is the immune system mood we want tonight. And as you let that image hold you, we can take a small detour into a nearby hallway, a corridor with windows that look out into other rooms, other organs working quietly in the same building. You don't have to enter these rooms fully yet. Just a glance, like passing an open doorway. To one side you might see the lungs. The lungs can be imagined as branching trees turned upside down, with air flowing in and out like wind moving through leaves. Tiny sacs called alveoli sit at the ends of those branches, and that's where the exchange happens. Oxygen moves into the blood, carbon dioxide moves out. It's a gentle trade, a quiet handshake at the border between air and body. And while you sleep, you keep breathing. The branches keep receiving that soft wind. The exchange continues, calm and automatic. To the other side, perhaps there is the liver. The liver is sometimes described as a chemical factory, but that can sound harsh. In our museum, the liver is a night shift chemist, a careful sorter. It processes nutrients, helps manage energy storage, and participates in detoxifying certain substances. Imagine a quiet workshop with labelled jars and clean counters. The liver measures, transforms, stores and sends. It doesn't rush. It doesn't complain. It simply keeps the internal world steady. And somewhere nearby you might sense the kidneys. The kidneys are like careful stones in a stream, filtering and balancing. They help regulate water, salts and waste products. They keep the internal fluids in a range that allows all the other systems to work smoothly. You don't need to visualize them in detail. Just imagine a mountain stream being gently clarified, again and again, flowing cleanly through your inner landscape. And in the far end of the corridor, a softer room perhaps, is the one connected to the eyes and the clockwork of day and night. Even with your eyes closed, the body tracks light and darkness in subtle ways. It tracks time through rhythms, through hormones that rise and fall, through patterns that prepare you for waking and sleeping. The museum has a twilight department, a quiet set of instruments that measures the night and helps you drift toward rest. You can take comfort in that. Your body is not wandering blindly through time. It has rhythms. It knows night. And now we return to the immune rooms, just long enough to let their calmness settle more deeply. One of the most comforting truths about immunity is that it is not always on in a loud way. It is constantly present, but much of its work is quiet monitoring, quiet housekeeping, clearing out old cells, responding to small injuries, keeping tissues balanced. You might not feel it because it doesn't need to announce itself. There are even immune cells that help resolve responses, encouraging the body to return to baseline after an immune event, like someone closing the library book, turning off the extra lamps, and restoring the hush. In a gentle way, immunity includes the art of stopping, the art of finishing, the art of returning to calm, and perhaps that mirrors what you are doing now. Letting the day finish, letting the nervous system turn down, letting the mind leave unfinished problems on a desk until morning. You may not be able to solve everything tonight, but you can rest, you can return to balance, you can let your systems do their quiet work while you sleep. If you want, take another slow breath, in and out. And now, in the museum, the hallway continues on. There are more rooms ahead, and you don't have to reach them quickly. But you might sense just beyond the next corner a room filled with tiny candles of light. A room where messages travel slowly, like handwritten letters carried through warm corridors. That is where we'll go next, when you're ready. Toward the endocrine system, toward hormones, toward the quiet chemistry of morning and night. But for the moment, you can simply rest with what we've visited. The brain's soft electrical forest where thoughts arise and dissolve. The heart's steady lighthouse rhythm turning gently through the dark. The gut's night garden, composting the day into nourishment. The immune system's calm library and careful filters, protecting without drama, remembering without stories. All of this is happening while you lie still. All of this is happening even if you drift, even if you forget every word. You're allowed to fall asleep right here in the hallway. The museum will not close. The night staff will continue their gentle work. The lamps will remain low. The air will remain soft. And if you're still awake, you can let your attention rest on something simple. The feeling of the blanket, the slow rhythm of your breath, the idea that inside you, there are quiet rooms full of patient care. Nothing is demanded of you now. Just rest, just drift, just let the night carry you a little further into softness, the way a calm sea carries a small boat, steady and safe with no need to steer. If you're still awake, you can stay exactly where you are. Nothing needs to change. Not your thoughts, not your breath, not the shape of your night. You can simply keep listening in the softest way, like you're letting a curtain move with a breeze. And if you've been drifting in and out, that's perfect. This is the kind of listening that welcomes gaps. It welcomes pauses. It welcomes sleep. In the museum of you, the hallway continues. The carpet stays gentle underfoot. The air stays calm. The lights don't glare. They glow, like small lamps in a quiet home, making each room feel safe to enter. We've already visited places of rhythm and whispering networks. We've stood near the brain's soft electrical forest, near the heart's steady internal lighthouse, near the gut's night garden, and near the immune system's calm library of recognition and memory. And now, just beyond a corner, there's a room that feels like a room of letters. Not loud messages, not urgent alarms, slow messages. This is the realm of the endocrine system, a constellation of tiny glands and tissues that send hormones through the bloodstream. Hormones are chemical messengers, and one gentle way to imagine them is as handwritten notes. Not the kind of message that vibrates in your pocket, the kind that arrives slowly, folded neatly, carried along warm corridors. A note that says it's evening now. A note that says conserve energy. A note that says wake up soon. A new day is coming. You already know what hormones feel like, even if you don't usually call them that. You know the feeling of sleepiness arriving, sometimes like a soft fog. You know the feeling of sudden alertness. You know the way stress can tighten the body, or the way calm can soften it. The endocrine system is one of the ways your body keeps time and balance. In the museum, this room might be full of small, steady candle flames. Each flame is a gland or a signal source. They don't burn hot and wild. They burn with the quiet confidence of something that has been doing its job for a long, long time. Let's begin with a very familiar experience. Evening. It gets darker outside. The day becomes quieter. The body begins, ideally, to move toward rest. You may not always feel that shift. Modern life can blur it. But deep inside, there is a built-in sensitivity to night. One important piece of that sensitivity involves melatonin, a hormone often associated with sleep. Melatonin is sometimes described as the body's dimmer switch. It helps signal that it's just a time for the lights to lower, time for activity to tip. Melatonin is linked to the cycle of light and darkness. When your environment gets darker, signals in the body help encourage melatonin's rise, and that rise can nudge the body towards sleepiness. It doesn't force sleep, and it isn't the whole story, but it's part of the gentle choreography of night. If you want a soothing image, imagine that somewhere deep in the museum, a caretaker walks around in the evening and turns down a series of lamps, one by one. The lights don't abruptly turn off. They soften. Shadows become kinder. The whole building begins to feel more dreamlike. A small gland called the pineal gland is often mentioned in this context because it's connected to melatonin. The pineal gland is a tiny structure, and it has gathered a lot of mystery in human stories. But tonight, we can keep it simple and gentle. It's one piece of the body's night awareness, part of the way chemistry aligns with darkness. And while all of this is happening, you don't have to manage it consciously. You don't have to run around turning switches. Your body has its own dimming crew. If your sleep is not perfect, if your nights are uneven, if you're listening because you need help settling, that doesn't mean your body is failing. It means you're human. It means you've lived days that stirred you. It means you're learning what your nervous system needs. Tonight is not about getting it right. It's about giving yourself gentleness. Now, the endocrine system is not only about sleep, it's about balance in a broader sense, energy, metabolism, stress response, temperature, growth, many other quiet rhythms. One way to think of endocrine messages is that they help your body set its tempo. Like a piece of music, your body has a pace that changes depending on the hour, the season, your activity, your needs. A very important tempo setter is the thyroid gland located in the neck. The thyroid is like a steady metronome hidden behind the scenes. It helps regulate the rate at which the body uses energy. It influences how quickly certain processes run, how the body generates heat, how systems keep their pace. You don't have to know the detailed pathways. You can simply hold the image of a quiet conductor tapping the stand softly, keeping the orchestra in time, not rushing, not dragging, just setting a stable beat. In the museum, the thyroid's candle might look like a small flame that never flickers too wildly, a stable light that keeps the building comfortably warm. And then there are the adrenal glands, sitting like small caps atop the kidneys. The adrenals are often associated with stress because they produce hormones involved in the body's stress response. These hormones can help mobilize energy, increase alertness, and prepare you to respond when something needs attention. But in a calm bedtime context, it helps to remember that stress hormones are not bad. They are useful tools. They are like the museum's emergency lighting system. When needed, it turns on extra brightness. It helps you move quickly and safely, and when the situation passes, it is meant to dim again. Sometimes, after a long day, the body has kept those lights brighter than you'd like. The nervous system remains vigilant, and you might feel that as restlessness, as a mind that keeps scanning, as a body that feels on call. So we don't blame the adrenals, we don't blame you. We simply give the system the cues it needs to downshift. Slow breathing can be one cue, soft repetitive sound can be another. Darkness, warmth, safety. These are the notes we're offering tonight, like handwritten letters delivered gently to your whole system. You can even imagine the adrenal candles learning that it's safe to glow lower now, not extinguishing, just softening. And the endocrine system includes another organ that is both practical and quietly astonishing: the pancreas. The pancreas plays roles in digestion, but one of its most talked about endocrine jobs involves managing blood sugar through hormones like insulin and glucagon. Again, you don't need the details. The comforting part is the principle. The pancreas acts like a careful balancer, like someone in the museum's kitchen who watches the stove, makes sure the heat stays steady, makes sure the simmer doesn't turn into a boil or fade into cold. It helps keep energy available and usable by cells. It's another example of the body's love of balance. If you want an image, you might picture a calm person stirring a pot slowly, checking the temperature, adjusting the flame with tiny movements. No drama, just precision. Now, one of the most soothing concepts in endocrine science is the idea of feedback loops. A feedback loop is the body's way of measuring and adjusting, like a thermostat. When the temperature drops, the heating turns on. When it rises, the heating turns off. Not because the thermostat has emotions, but because it's built to keep things in a helpful range. Your body does this kind of measuring everywhere. Hormone levels rise and fall, and the body senses them. It adjusts production. It changes sensitivity. It keeps many variables within ranges that allow life to feel stored. There's something deeply comforting about that. Even if your conscious mind feels like it's spinning, your body has systems designed to seek steady states, and you can let that truth be a lullaby. The endocrine system is full of quiet cooperation. The brain participates too, especially through regions that help coordinate endocrine signals. The body speaks in loops and rhythms. It listens to itself, and it listens to the world too. Light and dark, food and fasting, activity and rest, temperature and season. So when you lie here at night, your body isn't just waiting. It's actively shifting toward restoration. It's changing the blend of messages. It's moving from daytime chemistry toward nighttime chemistry, like a home that closes its curtains and lowers its lights. What if calm is partly chemistry, patient and automatic? What if underneath your effort, there is a slow, helpful intelligence doing its best to guide you toward rest? You don't need to prove anything to receive that help. You don't need to deserve it. It's built in. It's part of being alive. And the best part is that you don't have to stay awake to benefit from it. Sleep itself is a powerful signal. A deep cue that tells many systems, now is the time to repair, to file, to balance, to restore. So if you're drifting, you can drift, and the endocrine candles can keep glowing softly without your attention. In the museum, as you step out of the endocrine room, you might notice that the hallway feels warmer now, as if the building itself has recognized bedtime. And ahead, there is another room that feels immediately familiar, because it's the part of you that touches the world, the skin. It can be easy to forget that the skin is an organ. We tend to think of organs as hidden inside, but your skin is an organ that wraps you gently from head to toe, is both boundary and connection. It protects you, and it helps you feel everything. Right now, as you lie in bed, the skin is your interface with comfort. It feels the sheet. It feels the blanket. It feels the air. It feels the warmth pooling in certain places, the coolness lingering in others. If you want, you can let your awareness rest on a small patch of skin, anywhere, a fingertip, the back of your hand, the cheek against the pillow. Just notice sensation without evaluating it. The skin is full of tiny nerve endings that respond to touch, pressure, vibration, temperature. It has receptors that turn physical contact into electrical signals that travel to the nervous system, where they become the experience of softness, warmth, or cool air. This is another gentle mystery. How does a blanket become comfort? How does a texture become a feeling? The answer, in one sleepy sentence, is that your body translates the world. It turns contact into meaning. The skin has layers. Again, you don't need to memorize names, but it can be soothing to know there is structure. An outer protective layer, deeper layers with connective tissue, blood vessels, nerves, and support. The outer surface is like the museum's outer walls. It keeps the inside world stable. It helps prevent too much water from leaving. It helps block many things that do not belong. And the deeper layers are like the wiring and plumbing, quietly ensuring blood flow, sensation, temperature regulation. Temperature regulation is one of the skin's quietly brilliant roles. When you're hot, the body can send more blood to the skin's surface, and sweating can help cool you. When you're cold, blood flow patterns shift. Hairs can stand, muscles can shiver. The skin participates in making you a comfortable temperature. So even now, as you lie still, your body is adjusting microclimates, tiny shifts in warmth, a gentle management of comfort. The skin also participates in immune function. There are immune cells in the skin that help monitor the boundary, noting what appears on the surface, responding calmly when needed. You can think of them as quiet doormen who know the regulars and who keep an eye on the door without making a scene. Again, protection can be quiet. Most of the time it is. Because the skin is also about contact, it's worth noticing that touch is one of the most calming senses. Gentle pressure, warmth, softness, steady contact can signal safety to the nervous system. That's part of why a blanket can feel soothing. Part of why being wrapped can feel like permission to rest. If you imagine the skin as a shoreline, it's the place where the ocean meets land. The place where two worlds touch. The skin's that meeting place between you and everything else. And within that meeting place there are other senses connected closely to emotion and memory. One of the most mysterious is smell. The nose is a sense organ, constantly sampling the air. Smell is linked closely with memory and emotion, often more directly than we expect. A single scent can bring back a place, a person, a season, a feeling, as if the mind has been transported. Why does it feel like that? One reason is that the pathways for smell connect with brain regions involved in emotion and memory. Smell can bypass some of the slower, more deliberate processing and go straight to the parts of you that feel. That can be a little bittersweet sometimes, but tonight we can keep it gentle. You might imagine the smell system as a quiet librarian who keeps a box of old letters. When a scent arrives, the librarian opens a drawer and a memory note slips out. You don't need to chase those memories tonight. You can simply acknowledge that your body stores time in many ways, that life isn't only held in thoughts, it's held in senses, and there's another kind of sense that is quietly miraculous because you rarely notice it until you try. Proprioception. Proprioception is your body's sense of where it is in space. It's how you know where your hand is even with your eyes closed. how you can bring a cup to your lips without needing to watch every millimeter. It's a sense made of signals from muscles, tendons, joints, and the nervous system all cooperating. Right now, lying in bed, proprioception tells you where your limbs are arranged. It tells you the shape you're in. It's part of what makes you feel located. And then, even deeper, there is interoception. Interoception is the sense of the body's internal state. Heartbeat, breath, hunger, fullness, the warmth of your core, the subtle messages that tell you how you are doing inside. Some nights, interoception can feel loud, especially if anxiety is present. You might notice your heartbeat, your breathing, the tightness of your chest, the weight in your stomach. If that happens, you can respond with tenderness. Those sensations are not your enemy. They are signals. Sometimes they are simply the body being awake. We can meet them with a softer message. You are safe. You are in bed. You can let your breath be slow, or you can let your muscles soften. You can let your attention rest lightly instead of gripping. Interoception can also become soothing when you approach it gently. Feeling your breath from the inside can be calming. Noticing the warmth of your body under the blanket can be grounding. Feeling the weight of your hands can be reassuring. So if it helps, you can place your awareness on something simple inside, the rise and fall of your belly, the feeling of air at the nostrils, the subtle heartbeat somewhere in the background like a distant drum, and then let it go again, like setting a feather on water and watching it drift. In the museum, the skin room might not be a single room. It might be more like a corridor itself, wrapping the whole building. A soft cloak around everything else, a cozy coat, and a warm boundary that holds you together and lets you feel the world in gentle ways. And this is the reflection that can settle deepest at bedtime. Even in the dark, your body knows where it is. Even when you close your eyes, your systems keep track. They keep your inner world stable. They keep your boundary intact. They keep you oriented enough to relax. Even in the dark, your body knows where it is and that it is safe. You don't have to repeat that sentence. You can simply let it exist in the background like a nightlight. Now, as we stand in this skin and senses space, we can zoom out for a moment, the way you might step back to see an entire wing of the museum at once. You are a living system of systems, a set of rooms, each with its own quiet work. The brain in its soft chorus, making meaning, the heart keeping rhythm, adjusting with breath, the gut turning food into you while its tiny garden hums, the immune system filtering, remembering, keeping watch without drama, the endocrine system sending slow letters of balance, dimming the lights for night, the skin holding you, sensing warmth and touch, translating the world into comfort, and alongside it all, the lungs keep their gentle trade, oxygen in, carbon dioxide out, branches receiving wind. The liver keeps sorting and storing, a night shift chemist with clean counters. The kidneys keep filtering and balancing, streamstones keeping the water clear. The whole body is a quiet city at night. If you're still awake, you might notice how comforting it is to be carried by so much automatic care. You didn't have to earn it in this moment. You don't have to think your way into it. It simply continues. And if you're sleepy, you can let that thought become less like a concept and more like a feeling of being supported, a feeling of being held from the inside. If your mind wants another gentle question to drift around, you can ask it softly, like a pebble dropped into a calm pond. What happens if you stop trying to manage everything just for this night? What happens if you trust the quiet systems that have kept you alive through every day you've ever lived? What happens if you let mystery be comforting instead of demanding? You don't need to answer. Questions can be soothing when you treat them like clouds instead of puzzles. They can drift across the mind and dissolve into sleep. In the museum, the hallway continues, but tonight we don't need to hurry. We can linger in this warm corridor of senses where the blanket is real, where your breath is steady, where your body knows the map of itself. And as we keep moving forward, the next places we'll explore will connect these inner rooms to everyday life, to nature, to the wider universe in calm, comforting ways. But for now, you can simply rest. Let your attention loosen. Let your shoulders be heavy. Let your face be soft. Let the body do what it already knows how to do. And if sleep is arriving, you can welcome it like warm light spreading quietly behind your ribs, drifting downward, filling the whole museum with a gentle hush, as if the night staff has placed a sign on the door that says, "Everything is under care now, and you can rest." If you're still awake, you can let the quiet continue. There's a gentle moment that sometimes appears after you've been listening for a while, when the mind starts to loosen its grip. Thoughts still come, but they arrive more slowly. They don't insist as much. They feel like they're walking in socks across a carpeted room, careful not to wake anyone. In that softened state, it can be comforting to connect what we've been exploring to the ordinary moments of a day. Not to turn it into advice, not to make it into homework. Just to notice that the mysterious organs inside you are not separate from your life. They are your life, moving beneath everything you do. Think about the brain, for instance, in a very everyday way. During the day, your brain shifts through many different patterns. Sometimes you're focused, and your attention becomes narrow, like a flashlight. Sometimes you're doing something familiar, and the body almost takes over, like walking through your home in the dark and still knowing where the corners are. Sometimes you're waiting in line or in traffic, and the mind begins to wander, creating small stories, revisiting memories, drifting forward into imagined futures. That drifting mind is not always a problem. Sometimes it's a sign that the brain is doing what it's built to do, moving through its internal maps, checking in with itself. And sometimes drifting is simply a quiet way of processing life. Even habits, those small repeating patterns of behavior, are the brain-building shortcuts to make the day smoother. Habits can be neutral, helpful, or unhelpful, but in their simplest form they're a sign of the brain trying to conserve energy, trying to make life easier to navigate. Like the museum laying down a softer carpet in the hallways that get walked every day. And at night, the brain seems to want a different kind of pattern. It wants softness, predictability, a lowering of demand. That's why routines can feel so comforting. Not because they're perfect, but because they send a message that the day is done. Brushing teeth, turning off a light, adjusting the pillow. These small actions are like gentle signals to the brain's background networks. You can rest now, and even if your routine is imperfect, even if some nights are messy, the body still receives what it can. A single deep exhale can be a routine. A single moment of warmth under a blanket can be a routine. Now think of the heart in an everyday way. The heart often matches your life in subtle rhythms. It speeds up when you climb stairs or laugh or hurry. It slows down when you sit quietly. It responds to music without you needing to tell it to. There's a reason a steady song can feel calming. The body likes rhythm. The body likes repetition. Sometimes you can hear this in the way you walk. Not every footstep is identical, and that's okay, but there is a natural tempo. And when you find a calm tempo, the body often follows. Breathing can become a kind of music too, not a performance, just a rhythm you return to. Inhale like a wave arriving. Exhale like a wave leaving. And the heart listens to that wave. It adjusts softly, moment by moment, like it's dancing with the breath in a slow, private dance. And the gut, in everyday life, is the place where comfort often begins. A warm drink, a nourishing meal. That settled feeling after you've eaten something simple and kind to your body. Even the ritual of eating can be calming when it's gentle. The gut likes regularity. The gut likes a sense of safety. It likes warmth. And it's not only food, the gut responds to your general state. If the day has been tense, the gut can feel tight. If the day has been gentle, the gut can feel more relaxed. That's not a judgment. That's simply connection. Body and mind are always conversing. And sometimes when you're anxious, it helps to treat the gut as a friend rather than a problem. To say quietly, I see you. You're trying to help. You're reacting to a long day. It's okay. That kind of kindness can itself become a signal. A note sent down the nervous system that says we are safe enough to soften, and the immune system, in everyday life, is quietly present even when you don't notice it. When you wake up with a scratch you didn't remember getting, and it heals. When your skin stays intact as a boundary. When your body clears away the worn out and the no longer useful. So much of immune work is maintenance. Quiet tidying, gentle cleanup. It can be comforting to imagine that you have caretakers inside you who do not need applause, who simply do their jobs in the background, restoring balance over and over, and the endocrine system, those slow handwritten letters in the blood, follows you through daily cycles. Morning chemistry is different from evening chemistry. Activity shifts the mix of signals. Rest shifts it again. You are not the same body at noon as you are at midnight. And that's not a flaw. It's a rhythm. If you've ever felt that certain hours are easier and certain hours are heavier, that can be part of these natural shifts. The body is not a machine that stays flat and constant. It's more like weather. It changes. It has seasons. And the skin in everyday life is the comfort of texture. The cool side of the pillow, the warmth of a shower, the soft fabric of a favorite shirt. It's easy to forget how much touch matters until you are deprived of it. Touch can quiet the nervous system in a very old way, a very mammal kind of way. It says, you are held, you're here, you're safe enough to rest. Now, as the museum quiets around you, we can widen the view even more, but gently without making it feel too big. Let's step outside for a moment, in imagination only, and connect these inner systems to the natural world. The immune system's memory can be like a forest's memory, not in an alarming way, but in a calm, wise way. A forest is shaped by its history. It remembers patterns in the sense that what has happened before influences what grows next, how the ecosystem responds. In a similar way, your immune system is shaped by what it has encountered. It learns, it adapts, it becomes more precisely itself through experience. And the endocrine system, with its feedback loops, can be like tides that respond to the moon. Not identical, of course, but similar in spirit. A rule-based rhythm, a return, a rise and fall that feels predictable over time. Your body is full of rises and falls. Hormones rise and fall, sleep cycles rise and fall, breath rises and falls. Even the heart's tempo subtly rises and falls with each inhale and exhale. These are not signs of instability, they are signs of life. And the brain's networks can remind you of mycelium in soil, those fine thread-like networks beneath a forest floor, quietly connecting, sharing resources, sending signals from one place to another, supporting growth above ground that you can see, even though the real work is hidden. In a way, your nervous system is like that. Hidden threads, quiet connections, coordinated sharing, a life beneath the surface. And the gut microbiome, That night garden of tiny life can be like the invisible communities in a pond or a patch of earth. So much life is microscopic, and yet it shapes everything. It's not loud, it's not a headline, it is simply part of the world's steady participation. When you think of it like that, it becomes less strange and more natural. You are not separate from nature. You are nature arranged into a person, and from here, if it feels comforting, we can zoom out again, just a little, into something larger, but still gentle, into the universe at large feeling. Sometimes it's soothing to think of your body as a small cosmos, not in a dramatic way, in a quiet way. Cells are like tiny cities, each with its own walls and moving parts. Blood is like rivers delivering supplies. Nerves are like paths of light. Organs are like constellations of function, different shapes and roles, all cooperating in a larger pattern. And when you lie in bed in the dark, you are doing something very cosmic in a sense. You are letting your day star dim. You're letting the internal night fall. You're entering a cycle that has existed for as long as life has had day and night to respond to. Night is not a failure of productivity. It's an essential half of the rhythm. And there is a quiet wow in that. Not wow like fireworks. Wow like a deep, steady appreciation. Most of the time, your body is managing itself automatically. You are not consciously directing your cells to generate energy. You're not instructing your kidneys to filter. You're not telling your heart to keep time. You're not managing immune cells as they quietly tidy up. You're not measuring hormone levels and adjusting them. Your body is doing so much without asking you to be in charge. And if you've been carrying the feeling that you have to manage everything, this can be a soft place to set down that burden, because you are already being cared for, internally, even now, even as you rest, even as you drift. And if you find yourself thinking, yes, but what about the parts of me that don't feel stable? You can answer gently, it's okay. Bodies are always adjusting. Balance is not a fixed point. It is a living process of returning. Like a boat that tilts slightly and then rights itself. Like a wave that rises and then settles. Like a candle flame that flickers and then steadies. This is how living systems work. They don't cling to perfection. They move toward equilibrium again and again. Science itself, in its honest form, carries a kind of bedtime comfort too, because science doesn't pretend everything is solved. There are mysteries. There are unknowns. There are questions that are still warm in human hands. We still ask why consciousness feels the way it does. We still ask what dreams are for. We still explore the deep complexity of immune signaling, of microbial ecosystems, of endocrine rhythms, and that's okay. Because mystery doesn't demand an answer tonight. Mystery can be admired without being chased. You can let your mind hold mystery the way you hold a smooth stone, not to figure it out, just to feel it. If you're still awake, you might notice that the museum is quieter now. The rooms feel a little farther away, like you're walking through fog. The details soften at the edges. The lights dim just a bit more. That's a good sign. It means the mind is letting go of sharp focus. It means your nervous system is receiving the message. You're safe, you can rest. And if sleep arrives now, you can let it. If sleep does not arrive yet, you can still rest here, in this gentle in-between listening to the idea that your body is a small cosmos of cooperation, breathing in like a quiet wave, breathing out like the wave returning, and somewhere inside the night staff continues. The librarians file their notes, the filters keep the rivers clear, the candle flames glow softly, the shoreline of skin keeps you held, the lighthouse heart keeps turning, and the brain in its lantern-lit forest begins to drift toward dream. You do not need to remember any of this, you can simply float with it for a while longer. If you're still awake, you may notice the information can start to feel softer now, less like facts you have to hold and more like a quiet atmosphere around you. That's a lovely shift, because the body understands repetition, the mind understands gentle rhythm, and when the night is deep enough, you can let the edges of everything blur a little, like light seen through a thin curtain. So very softly, we can begin to let the details become simpler, not because they're less true, but because you don't need complexity to rest. You only need steadiness, you only need kindness, and you only need the sense that you are being carried. In the Museum of You, the hallway grows quieter, the lamps dim a shade more. The rooms don't disappear, but they become more dreamlike, as if the building is exhaling. You pass the brain room again, but you don't stop to analyze the exhibits. You just feel the mood of it. Soft lights, gentle pathways, a warm forest of quiet signals. The brain doing what it does even now without effort from you. And then you pass the heart room. Steady drum, slow lighthouse beam, a metronome in a warm wooden room. The heart keeping time, faithful and calm. Then the gut room, night garden, patient chemistry, friendly, quiet workers turning the day into nourishment. A greenhouse at night, warm and still. Then the immune rooms, calm library, quiet filters, librarians filing, doormen watching without alarm, river stones keeping the flow clear. Protection that doesn't need to shout. And then the endocrine room full of small candles, slow letters, carried through warm corridors. The dimmer switch of evening, the steady tempo setter, the careful balancer, the thermostat that measures and adjusts, always returning toward comfort. And the skin corridor, wrapping everything, warm boundary, soft shoreline, a cozy coat, a sense of touch that says, you are here, you are held. Even in the dark, even now, you don't have to remember the names, you don't have to remember the steps. You can let it become a simple pattern, like a lullaby that repeats without needing attention. Quiet rhythm, gentle message, soft protection. Warm balance, quiet rhythm, gentle message, soft protection, warm balance. If it helps, you can let your breath find that rhythm, in like a small wave arriving, out like the wave leaving, in and out. And somewhere inside that pattern, your heart keeps its own gentle timing. Your body does not need you to be in charge. Your body does not need you to hold everything together. It has been holding itself together all along. If your mind tries to check on things to see if sleep is coming, you can let that checking soften too. Sleep comes best when it is not chased. Like a cat that approaches when the room is quiet. Like a tide that returns when the wind is gentle. You can simply make space for it. And if it comes, it comes. And if it takes time, you can rest anyway. Now imagine the museum again, but this time you're not walking with your eyes wide open. You're walking the way you walk in a dream. Slowly, softly, almost floating. The carpet feels like moss under your feet. The air is warm. The lamps are low and golden. In this dreamy hallway, you don't need to understand every room. You only need to pass through the feeling of them. The brain is soft lights. The heart is steady drum. The gut is night garden. The immune system is calm library. Hormones are whispered letters. Skin is warm boundary. Soft lights. Steady drum. Night garden. Calm library. Whispered letters. Warm boundary. As you repeat those phrases in your mind, you can let them stretch out like long exhalations. Soft lights, steady drum, night garden, calm library, whispered letters, warm boundary, and if your attention slips away in the middle, that's perfect. That's exactly where sleep begins to take over. If you're still awake, you might like a little visualization that's very simple. Imagine a warm light at the top of your head, not bright, just gentle, like a lantern behind frosted glass. With each exhale, that warm light slowly moves downward. It doesn't rush, it doesn't spill, it simply spreads from the scalp to the forehead, smoothing the forehead, down around the eyes, softening the tiny muscles there, across the cheeks and jaw, loosening the jaw, letting the tongue rest, down the neck, easing the throat and shoulders, and the shoulders, you can let them sink again, just a fraction, as if they're settling into the bed. Then the warm light reaches the chest, spreading behind the ribs, making breathing feel a little easier, a little wider, and it moves down to the stomach, where it becomes a gentle warmth in the belly, as if the gut's night garden is being watered with calm. Then it drifts into the hips, the thighs, the knees, and all the way down the calves, ankles, and feet. By the time it reaches your feet, you can imagine that you are filled with warm quiet, like a house with every lamp turned low, every room peaceful, and nothing is demanded of you inside that house. If it helps, you can pair this with a very gentle truth repeated slowly. Your body knows how to keep going. You're allowed to rest. Mysterious doesn't mean dangerous. Your body knows how to keep going. You're allowed to rest. Mysterious doesn't mean dangerous. The words don't need to be sharp. They can be soft as cotton. If another thought comes in, you don't have to push it away. You can treat it like a visitor passing through the museum hallway. Oh, hello, thought. You can walk it by. No need to stop and talk. No need to follow it into a room. Just let it pass. And you return to the simple tour. Soft lights, steady drum, night garden, calm library, whispered letters, warm boundary. There's something almost poetic about the way your body is like a small universe. Not a dramatic universe, a quiet one. A universe of rivers and lanterns, of libraries and gardens, of tides and thermostats. And all of it is here, inside you. All of it is working for you. You don't have to earn this care. You don't have to think your way into it. You don't have to hold yourself tightly to stay together. You are already together. Held by skin, warmed by steady chemistry, powered by gentle breath, timed by the heart, guided by the brain's quiet patterns, protected by the calm librarians and filters, balanced by the slow letters in the blood. And because the night is for drifting, we can let the language become even more circular, even more soft, like a lullaby that loops, a quiet rhythm in the dark, a gentle message moving through you, soft protection at the boundaries, warm balance in the center, quiet rhythm, gentle message, soft protection, warm balance, man, as those phrases repeat. They may begin to lose their meaning in the best way. They become sound, they become cadent, they become a soft blanket of words. If you notice that your mind is no longer forming clear pictures, that's okay. If you notice that you're half dreaming, that's okay. If you notice nothing at all for a while, that's more than okay. The museum is still there. The night staff is still there. The lamps are still low. And the hallway continues endlessly gentle until your sleep is deep enough that you don't need words anymore. So you can simply rest here, breathing in like a quiet wave arriving, breathing out like the wave leaving. Soft lights, steady drum, night garden, calm library, whispered letters, warm boundary. And if sleep comes now, you can let it carry you easily, the way water carries a floating leaf steady and safe without any effort at all.